Welcome to our August 18th virtual roundtable discussion. Today we have Kim McGordy, Grants Officer with the Idaho Transportation Department. Kim will be giving an overview of the Public Transportation Office, emphasizing ITD's Economic Development Program and Idaho's Workforce Transportation Initiative. So we'll turn over to Kim here for a second. One housekeeping thing: if you have questions, there's a chat box. We'll field questions at the end. So feel free to hold on to them and type them in as they come up, but we'll be answering them at the end of the webinar. So with that, I'll turn it over to Kim.
Awesome, thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. As Tony mentioned, my name is Kim McGordy, and I'm a Grants Officer for the Public Transportation Office at ITD. So I'm filling in for my manager, Mark Bathrick, who is currently on his way to DC to participate in a national panel for dialysis and transportation. So I have the privilege of speaking on his behalf. So I'd like to start by doing a quick overview of the Public Transportation Office, and then later dive into specifically the Economic Development Program. So ITD's overarching mission is your safety, your mobility, and your economic opportunity. And really these three elements are seen in a variety of ways within the Public Transportation Office, as well as our efforts statewide. So what you'll see on the screen up here is the org chart. Let's see if I can move this little guy. Perfect. What you'll see here is the org chart of our office, our Public Transportation Office, and I'll kind of walk you through the varying components that make up our daily functions. So the three top boxes are what we term our guiding three. So we have our statewide public plan, which is a document that we are currently kicking off. And it'll be a one-year effort to really go around through the state and assess what the current landscape for public transportation is, as well as what we can anticipate in the future and plan accordingly for. Our state management plan, this is our guiding document for how our office will run each program, and it has to be approved by the Federal Transit Administration on an every few year basis. So. Our next box is the Public Transportation Summit, and so this is really our opportunity to hold a conference or partner with a different entity holding a conference and really reach our different stakeholders and provide some training and guest speakers and that sort of thing on an either annual basis or every 2-year basis. So we'll drop down into those red boxes that you can see, and these are the true programs within our office. The first two are our advisory groups. We have our interagency working group, which is composed of different agencies throughout Idaho who are seated members meeting on a quarterly basis. So we get to discuss how our agencies can really collaborate and tackle some barriers for transportation. The next one is our Public Transportation Advisory Council, and this is our go-to board within the transportation realm, who oversees and helps advise us in our various programs and tasks. The next couple boxes are our following programs. So we have our project solicitation and grant application program. And so the way that our office operates is we get Federal Transit Administration dollars for a few different programs. And we, every 2 years, do a call for applications and award different entities federal grant money through those application processes. From that point, we move over to the Operating Grant Management Program, and this is actually the program that I oversee, colleague Rachel Pallister. Within this program, we have our 5311 grant, and this is primarily for our rural area formula funding, so those rural transportation providers can apply for this funding program, as well as our 5310 program, and that is specifically for our elderly and disabled population. We have a 5304 planning program, and that is really tied to our statewide public transportation plan and allows us to coordinate funding for that effort. Our capital project management program is our next funding source, and so we have within it a 5309 capital program, but most prominently our 5339 bus and bus facility program. So this is your traditional funding source for vehicles or vehicle-related expenses, as well as facilities. We also have our VIP, which is our vehicle investment program, and this is our only state funding for public transportation, which comes in the amount of $312,000, and it is truly just for vehicle investments or vehicle improvements. So those are our main federal grant programs. We also have a performance program, which really just entails the metrics of our providers. So our ridership, our quarterly budgets that each of our subrecipients or grant recipients have to turn into us on a quarterly basis. We have a national transit database requirement tied to those FTA funding that we have to meet each year, so that falls under that program. We also have a safety program, and so this is truly an up-and-coming requirement from FTA. They're putting a stronger emphasis on transit safety. And so we have a unique partnership with the Idaho State Police, and they go out and do all of our vehicle inspections for the initial vehicles that our providers get. So it is really a great partnership that we've been able to collaborate with them on, and not only meet FTA policy requirements, but also get some real technical expertise in there who can really assess a vehicle and make sure that those vehicles are on the road in a safe manner. We also have within that program our site review program, and so as direct recipients of the FTA dollars, our office is tasked with the oversight and compliance of each of our subrecipients. And so through that effort, we go around to each of our providers throughout the state and do an on-site visit with them and just walk them through various questions pertaining to grant compliance and make sure that all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and everything is moving along as it should. So we also have an asset management and title program, which again kind of relates to that vehicle maintenance and vehicle requirement component. So the last box, the last two boxes are our outreach program and our economic development program, and these two are particularly tied to one another. So the outreach program right now encompasses our Share the Ride Idaho platform, and I'll kind of dive into greater detail in a minute, but this is a partnership and an effort that we have going on with ACHD Commuter Ride. And so this is an opportunity for us to pool some of the resources that ACHD has using a platform that allows people to see what alternate commuter options are available within their area. We also have our Rural Technical Assistance Program, or RTAP program, and that is our scholarship application opportunity. So for our transit providers that are wanting to attend some conferences and training and really bolster their knowledge and expertise, we offer scholarship funding for that effort. So that's kind of a high level of what we do within the public transportation. We have kind of a lot going on, but it really all ties back to our ITD mission and goals. So the last box is what I'd like to put a stronger emphasis on today's call, and this is our economic development program. So within this program, we currently have our Idaho's Workforce Transportation Initiative, which has been in the works for about the last 4 months. It's a one-year program, and it's really focused to bridge the gap between the business sector and the transportation community. So we're very excited to have this underway and have already seen some great things from it. Okay, so as I mentioned, the title is our Workforce Transportation Initiative, And the mission of this is to connect and educate Idaho's employers, and more specifically the employees, with available ride-sharing and public transportation commuter options. So we believe that transportation is a leading driver in economic development, and so with that understanding, we wanted to tap into a segment of the population that can greatly benefit from public transportation, as it does play a critical role in many areas of business. And so in this effort to kind of rebrand the typical perception of what public transportation is, who it's for, and the many means it can be used for, we believe that this effort is kind of a way to highlight a different group who can truly benefit from it. So the Workforce Initiative staff and what this group is comprised of, we have 2 Public Transportation Office grants officers. Myself and then my colleague Rachel Pallister are the leads for this initiative. And then we've also brought on 2 outreach coordinators as subrecipients. So for Northern Idaho, we have Deb Smith, and she works for CETA. And then in Southeast Idaho, we have Dave Dorn from CCOG. So this term of work began May 1st of 2016, and it's a 1-year initiative which will end April 30th of 2017. Okay. So here's just kind of a map of how it's broken out with districts 1 and 2, the ITD districts 1 and 2 with Deb, our ITD PT office covering District 3, and then Dave Doran with CCOG with Districts 4, 5, and 6. So the outreach coordinator assignments, we've heard from a number of people across the state that 2 of the biggest barriers for using public transportation is they either don't know what's available in their area, or they're unfamiliar with how to utilize the existing service. There's kind of a lack of understanding maybe, or just an unfamiliarity with public transportation. So our outreach coordinators are tasked to address some of these key barriers for commuters by speaking with the employers and the employees on what ride sharing is, what options there are, and also train them on how to use the ride sharing platform that we called Share the Ride Idaho, previously mentioned. And then if requested, they are available to develop commuter schedules for individual employees based upon their locations, place of work, or preferred options of commuting. So it can be anything from biking, walking, carpooling, all of those various options. In Northern Idaho, we've really seen great success in the conversations that have taken place between our outreach coordinator, various healthcare providers, or universities and other businesses that have had a strong commuting population. In Southeast Idaho, we've seen promising dialogue between the universities down there, local companies, as well as some really well-known manufacturers that are strategically placed down there, such as Premier Technology, and Cliff Bar, and Monsanto. So there's some really great opportunities to capitalize on here that have a large commuting population and can really benefit from the public transportation and commuting options. All right. So our outreach coordinator performance measures, because they are a subrecipient of the ITD Public Transportation Office, they are operating under a grant agreement with us. So some of the performance measures and the different components that we're looking for as a deliverable from this initiative are the number of businesses contacted, number of businesses that have been presented to, the number of individuals who have signed up for Share the Ride Idaho, which is that new ride-sharing platform, and then an increase in annual public transportation trips. So we're really looking at this effort to not only explore alternative commuting options, but also partner closely with our transit providers who can kind of either tag team the first mile of a trip with then the public transportation and the last mile of a trip, or various combinations within. So to touch upon the Share the Ride Idaho platform, this is an online, it's a web-based platform similar to a Match.com. We kind of joke in our office that it's the dating site for public transportation. And so what you do is you log on and you'll map your route. So if you're going from your home to your work, or Really, you can use it for personal or professionally, and it'll pair you with someone in your similar location who is also going in that direction at that same time of day, and it kind of matches you with, if they're wanting to carpool, you can set up carpooling schedules. It also maps a park and ride law. It maps the public transportation bus system, and it gives you times, as well as bike paths or walk buddies if you so desire, and kind of maps it out in a Google Map type of look and feel. So it's a really great technique for especially those companies who have a large workforce, maybe living in the rural and then commuting into the small urban areas, to be able to collaborate on those resources and take advantage of people who are already making that same trip in that same direction. So.
Question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that be a recurring ride, like a work week, or can it be like a one-time?
It could be anything. So really, once it kind of gives you your match, so to speak, you can set up either a recurring schedule. You could do every Monday you're going to carpool. You could do every day if you want to carpool, or you could do, I have a meeting, at the Department of Commerce, and I'm going to be heading down there on Wednesday, April 26th or whatever that looks like. So it really is at the discretion of the user and the frequency of the user. So, and that really does bring up a good point, because I think there is sometimes a misconception about taking public transportation or commuting in an alternate way, that it has to be an all or nothing. So if I'm going to take the bus, I'm going to commit to take the bus every day, and I'm going to sell my car, type of thing. So just really trying to expand our understanding of different ways we can use public transportation, and maybe it just starts out as one day a week, and you find a carpool buddy, or you hop on the bus, and you decide to do that on Tuesdays. So it's a really nice way to kind of initiate and kind of get people's feet wet with the idea of not always just everyone driving their car and being the only single occupancy vehicle type thing. So with that, I think we look forward to continuing to expand this initiative, and again, our understanding of public transportation. We're excited to see this program take off and really be able to be utilized by the different businesses or economic development associations who work really in close contact with a lot of organizations and that network of people that you're also involved with. So yeah, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time this afternoon, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
I'll see here. I'll pull up the questions here and see if any popped up. Questions?
Kim, you mentioned Cliff Bar in that whole area that is built out. You got Chobani, Cliff Bar, Jayco Trailer. I mean, what options are there for public transportation for folks from Twin or Kimberly or the rural areas? I mean,
yeah.
Because I can imagine you've got 250 workers coming in at certain times, or.
Yeah, so Southeast Idaho has a couple different transit providers. We've broken Southeast Idaho as far as the ITD mindset into districts that's 4, 5, and 6. And so District 4 has some public transportation within their Twin Falls area, as well as in the Sun Valley Ketchum area. And then we have Pocatello Regional Transit in the Pocatello area, and then as well as TRIPTA in the Idaho Falls, Rexburg.
So like the city of Twin Falls, the city has a public transportation system that they're trying to build upon?
Currently, within Twin Falls, we have a transit provider called Trans4, and they work under the College of Southern Idaho, actually. And so that is the options available in actual Twin Falls City. But we also, again, want to kind of encourage those van pool types where there might be not necessarily be a fixed route or your traditional idea of a public transportation bus for situations where that might not be readily available at this time. And so there's kind of a variety of ways to tackle some of the more challenging areas that might have a a unique transportation perspective. Yeah.
There's one question that came up here. I'd like to know that website again.
Yes, so it's sharetherideIdaho.com, and it's all one word, all lowercase. And so one of the things that is kind of neat about that site is companies, if they want to, they can develop a sub-site. So you go to sharetherideIdaho.com and you kind of, you wouldn't necessarily have to log in and make a username. You could just, if you're just curious, you can just test it out, what would be feasible in my area. But also if a company does have a large commuting population and they would want to set up a sub-site for their for their employees, they can work with our office and our partners at ACHD to get that set up so that they could log on specifically to the Cliff Bar, Share the Ride Idaho website, and you can get super fancy and offer incentive programs and kind of make it almost a health conscious awareness thing, and offer different side things if you want, or you can make it as simple and straightforward as possible. But that way you can see who at my work is also commuting from my same neighborhood even, or different things like that. So it has the potential to really expand and be as tailored as needed for each company.
Question here, I'm on the website now and did not see any of the Salt Lake Express's bus rides. Is this because they're not public? In many places they are the only option to get from one place to another.
Salt Lake Express, yeah, they are a for-profit transit company, and we've been working with the different transit providers around the state to have them have their routes uploaded to Share the Ride Idaho. So currently, since this is on our statewide level, it's kind of been a soft launch for Share the Ride, and so we're still working with the different companies to be able to upload their routes to that. And so actually that's a great tip for me that I can take back to our office and have Juanita Risch is actually kind of been coordinating the particulars of Share the Ride as I've been on the workforce side, but I'd love to take that back to her and have her reach out to them and see if that's an option for them to be able to upload that, because they are definitely, they have a strong presence down in Southeast Idaho.
Any other questions?
Kim, in these dollars and these grants, can they also, you look at different options, Share the Ride, van pools, the ability to expand like bike paths or pathways, trails? Like I think of Sun Valley and you got Bellevue and Haley, and they've got the old rail bed, which is now paved. Is that something this program could have? Because I could see that as a public definitely not in the winter, but in the other months.
Yeah, so our traditional funding programs, the 5311, 5310, 5339 that I had briefly touched upon, FTA has a requirement that there has to be what they term a transit nexus. So it has to directly be in line with the public transportation bus services. And so something a little bit more nuanced and outside of your bus routes can be definitely more challenging. So, however, we do work with some other areas, some other grants outside of public transportation. We have our TAP Transportation Alternative Program at ITD that can deal with some of the bike programs, the walk programs. So not specifically within our office, just because FTA has a little bit more of a heartburn with that one. But yeah, but that's a great question.
Well, thank you, Kim.
My pleasure.
Really good information. Workforce transportation is an issue and growing issue in Idaho. We are recording this. If you want to get the word out, we can share the link with you and login information if somebody wasn't able to attend that and want to watch this, or you want to revisit it later. But with that, I guess we'll sign off. So thank you, everyone, for attending today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.